die. Go too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I have got some Fubuki footage on two brothers. It occurred to me last night that I might have been referring to this map as twin brothers. That's a common mistake I make with lots of things, but it is in fact two brothers. So now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at what we've got here. So you can see I am going solo today. I don't have anyone in a division with me. And I'm in the Fubuki. I love this boat, or this ship rather. I know I haven't put up a whole lot of footage of it, and I was thinking about it, and you know, when you play your Japanese destroyers, the same could be said for American destroyers. I'm not 100% sure, but I imagine especially at this tier, like for example the Benson, with its longer torp range, I imagine that it's fairly similar in that you need to have patience when playing these higher tier destroyers. If you get killed in the first 5 minutes of the battle, you're pretty much your team rather is pretty much completely out of luck, because it's in the mid to late game I find that your destroyers really start paying off. You know, that point where you've already started battling it out with the enemy, and you've already lost a few ships, they've lost a few ships. Everyone's kind of on like half health, or not full health anyway, and then you suddenly have your destroyers come out of nowhere, or come out of somewhere, I guess. But anyway, you have your destroyers come along and start finishing off those targets with torpedoes, in giving a reprieve to your cruisers and your battleships, and that's mid to late game in the battle, and that is when I find that your destroyers come in so handy. And when I'm playing a destroyer, it's at that portion of the battle when I start racking up torpedo hits, kills, damage done, and that sort. So that's what I found with my Japanese destroyers, and I suspect it's similar with the American higher tier destroyers. Say starting at the Benson, although you could argue starting at the Sims now, especially since they increased the Sims torpedo range. But anyway, you can see I have a number of targets popping up here in front of me. The first target we should pay attention to is the New Orleans. This is the target that I'm actually aiming for right now. That's where those torpedoes are off to, hopefully anyway. As soon as I launch my torpedoes, I'm out of there. I mean, the torpedo range on this Fubuki is 15 kilometers. My detection range on the Fubuki is 6.3 kilometers with my module. If I have camo, then it's 6.1 kilometers, so I have no concerns about getting spotted here. The only thing that's going to spot me is aircraft or a destroyer that's close in. As far as those cruisers and battleships out there are concerned, I do not exist. They only realize that I'm here, hopefully, when it's too late and they run into my torpedoes. Now, unfortunately, I have this Mitsuki here. He has popped up and he is detecting me. So I immediately pop my smoke, but he pops his as well, I believe. Yeah. And so now we're kind of, in and out of the smoke, hoping that we become detected. Quick tip for anyone who is at full speed in a destroyer launching your smoke: if you go in a straight line, I'm sure all of you will have noticed that you pop in and out of being detected. That's because you're going so fast that the smoke doesn't have time to surround you and shroud you in that smoke cloud. All you simply need to do, if you want to maintain your full speed, is pop your smoke and do a big turn. Do a 360. That way you're going to be coming in on the smoke that you've already set down, and hopefully going to avoid the whole getting spotted thing, right? So keep that in mind. Now, there is an Amagi out there, and those torpedoes that I looked at, they did kind of look like they were going to hit him, but I looked at it closer. Nah, they're not going to hit him. I mean, he was going pretty fast. Keep in mind the Amagi can do about 30 kilometers. But I still get him with one. I got him with that extreme left one. A little bit of coffee. So not too bad, but keep in mind, we're looking at the New Orleans. We can see him out there. If you were to say that I had Nemesis in this game, it is definitely the New Orleans. But he gets his, and he gets it in the most ironic manner, I think. So you can see I do have those torpedoes off in the distance, right? There they are. They're coming in for the New Orleans. That was crazy. So the Amagi went down and the North Carolina plowed into his sinking ship. And when I looked at it, it just looked so weird. I don't know. Anyway, you can see my torpedoes there on the left-hand side of your screen, right? There was a New Orleans right over there as well. Oh, there we go. Got him with 2 torpedoes. That's not too bad at all. Keep in mind as well that on your Japanese destroyers and obviously on your American destroyers, as you work up the tier, your torpedoes start doing more and more damage. So the Fubuki torpedoes that I have got here do an incredible amount of damage. I have no idea what the actual figure is. I suppose I could stop the video right now and go check that out, but nah, whatever. There's a New Orleans. You can see that my 2 torpedo hits almost completely got him. And then that third spread that I had right there, oh, I thought that was going to hit him. I was sure. You can see I'm watching it, paying attention, like, oh, looking good. Looking good. And then, yeah, pro torpedo dodge there by the New Orleans. Hats off to that guy. I am sure that he was screaming his lungs out. But he managed to avoid it. I wish that our ships here would have maybe they'll add in the future. But I wish our ships here had more alarm bells. Like, I don't know. I think it would just make it more intense, and you'd be more involved. It might be a little too overwhelming, so you probably have to you probably have to sort of even it out or find that nice middle ground. But definitely something I'd like to see anyway. So more torpedoes going out there. And just taking a look at the ships around me, trying to strategize here, because again, I don't want to get seen. Now that was just a mistake on my behalf. I was trying to hit the X button, I hit Z and it went to my torpedoes that were already in the water, but whatever. So more enemies off there in the distance. I had to be careful with that launch. You can see I was looking at the Mitsuki the whole time because I wanted to see what he was going to do. He launched his torpedoes and then turned away from where my torpedoes would go out, so then I slowed my ship down and I launched my torpedoes. There's the Mitsuki once again. I believe it's the same guy, so we're going to try and do something about this guy because he's the one who keeps spotting me. If it wasn't for this guy, and planes, I would not have been spotted at all. But because he spotted me, I now start taking incoming fire there from the Thotgor. So getting a little hairy. I need to find some cover, break the contact. So that's what I'm doing with this island. Still detected, and it's taking longer for me to become undetected. That is because I fired my guns. As soon as you fire your guns, including AA guns, it will take longer for you to become undetected. Than it would if you had your everything off and you just and you didn't fire your guns. You're gonna become undetected faster. There was a little bit of lag in this game too. You probably noticed it here. I apologize for it. Not sure what was going on, but it's only now and then. So I still feel that this is a good replay to show off today. Now you can tell here. Like, this is where patience starts to pay off. We're about halfway through the battle. I haven't done a whole lot. 3 torpedo hits, some flooding, but this is where the part of the battle where when you're in a destroyer that become really invaluable, and you can be a little more aggressive with your gameplay. So both sides have exchanged fire. My east side looks like it has completely collapsed. But on the west side, we're kind of still holding on. Everyone on my side seems to be staying behind me. You'll notice the ships that did go ahead of me, like the Thotgor earlier. That's really the only one I can remember. But anyway, those ships are all dead now. So, you can make the argument that with, in all ship classes you want to take your time and not just jump in there. And that's true. It probably goes without saying, but I really find it's very, very true and very, very advantageous to do with your destroyers. That battleship out there, he's almost dead, and I do get the torpedo hit and the kill on him. It was only like 1148 damage, so I really only finished him off. I wasn't originally aiming for him. I don't believe so, anyway. If my torpedo wouldn't have hit him, he would have burnt to death anyway. So, yeah, finished him off. Did it for the team. He's gone. Now, we have some more enemies. So there's the Mitsuki again. He's still popping up. He's still the ship that's detecting me every now and then. And you can see that a Thotgor right there has come around the island. But he's turning. I was afraid that he was going to come straight around and put some broadsides into me, but he's not. He's turning. His turrets are not even pointed at me. So I'm going to put some shots into this guy. Just a few shots. At this point in the battle, I'm feeling fairly aggressive, right? So I really want to make my presence known, especially considering the fact that the east side is gone. I wanted to be a little more aggressive to make the enemy team think twice about pushing through our defenses here on the west. So firing the guns off, yeah, it might have done that, it might not, who knows, but it felt good. I like to kill things with my guns on my destroyers. It's just so great. I mean, especially the Japanese destroyers, because everyone is always like, oh, their turrets are shit, but, I really enjoy them. Now, I'm going to start pushing into the middle of where the cap would normally be if this was a domination match. I mean, it's at this point in the battle, because you have to read the battle the whole time, right? So it's at this point of the battle that I'm thinking, I have to push. We have to be more aggressive. So that's what I'm doing. I saw the New Orleans off there in the distance, and I really thought I was going to finally finish that guy off. Really wanted to finish him off as well, because, he's kind of my nemesis right now. But somehow he dodges all those torpedoes. Dodges them all. Good show to the New Orleans player. He really, he really hung on there for quite some time. The aircraft carrier popped up there in front of me, the old Shuikaku. There he is, and I was really surprised to see him here. I expected that he would either be, that definitely he would be further back, but he would either be, to the extreme west or maybe to the extreme east, helping to support those people. But no, he's just sitting right there. So all right, no problem at all. I'm gonna help you out today and introduce you to some of my torpedoes. So I put a shot into him. I pop my smoke because you'll notice that I've got a Fuso near me. I've got an Thotgor near me. See, there's the Fuso right there. And I don't want them to start shooting me too much. I expect to take some incoming fire, but I don't want it to be so much that I'm going to die. So I managed to set the Shuikaku on fire, which is great, because now, depending on where the fire is, you either won't be able to land planes or you won't be able to launch planes. So excellent. And now I'm going to line up some torpedoes. So you got one spread going. I questioned whether or not I should send the second, but I end up doing it anyway, which turned out to be an excellent call on my behalf, as you will see shortly. So there are 3 torpedo hits, and the 4th for the kill and the devastating strike. So excellent. Now the enemy carrier is gone. The enemies only have 3 ships left. So they only have 1 cruiser in the south that was left over from their push on the east, and they have these 2 ships here, Fuso and New Orleans. So New Orleans, my nemesis, there he is right there. I figure you are going down, buddy, so I put some shots into him. And the icing on the cake here for me was that I only had 1 turret remaining, right? He blew off my other one. Gratifying to get the kill. Right at this moment, I freaked out. I took a full salvo from the Fuso, and I only have 13 hit points left. So I wasn't feeling too great. I was pretty sure that I was going to die here, but started playing a little more cautiously. You can see, just because the battle's coming to an end now, and I'm going to ground myself, so I'm going to talk about something else. So maybe this isn't as embarrassing, but you can see patience. We went over to the west side, and I started pumping out my torpedoes. I'm keeping my distance, trying not to be detected. Meanwhile, the ship's behind me, because the composition of your firing line, I think, should be your destroyers up front, cruisers behind the destroyers, and battleships behind the cruisers. Right? I think that makes sense because now you're leaving it open for your destroyers to fire torpedoes off without having to worry about hitting another friendly ship. Your cruisers are close enough that they're still within range of the enemy ships and they're able to support the destroyers and take heat off the destroyers if necessary. And the battleships are supporting the entire line from the rear. They're acting almost like artillery, a mobile artillery platform. Mobile is the key word here. And they're able to, take on the larger ships or just get the citadel hits to get to get the other ships gone. That ideally is going to be the the composition of the firing line, and the firing line should gradually move up. The destroyers are going to be the ones who should be pushing that up, and I find with destroyers that have longer range torpedoes, it's a lot easier to do that because they don't have to get in close to launch their torpedoes. They're able to maintain a distance, and even if the torpedoes aren't hitting the enemy targets, it might or probably will make them turn back a little, and then you can move that line up a little more, right? Now in this case where I'm playing solo, for me it was all about just patience. Just saying, whoa Thotgor, don't just jump in there and die. Hold back, fire your torpedoes, and get them in the water and let them start working. And that's what I did, and I mean it paid off. Sure, I I gunned down a few people, at least one, the New Orleans. It took a battleship out, but he only had 1,148 hit points left. And then the aircraft carrier, I got that guy gone. So 3 kills, I mean, not too bad, but I was surprised with the overall results here. Yes, it is. This was during a 2 times event, so that contributes to the 7,400 experience. Now the 300,000 credits, I did also complete a mission, I believe. But you can see overall I'm top, even though I didn't get the most kills. Or well, maybe I did, but anyway, even though it didn't look like I was doing that much. The fact is that my torpedoes, look, 77,000 damage in torpedoes, and more damage in my firing, so probably about 85,000 worth of damage, which isn't too bad. At a tier 8 it's fairly low, but I was still satisfied with the results, and I was happy with this battle because it really did show off patience, how to be patient, waiting for the opportunity when you're in destroyer, plus we can talk about firing lines a little here. So takeaways here: when you're solo in your destroyer and you've got long range torpedoes, be patient, take your time. And the firing line composition, destroyers up front, cruisers in the middle, battleships in the back. Battleships are supporting everyone, cruisers are also supporting your destroyers, and in turn the battleships, and the destroyers are supporting the entire line. The destroyers will be the ones who should move up the line gradually, if you're working in that sort of team dynamic. I mean, if you're solo and the team dynamic doesn't have an established firing line, and they're not spread out in that manner, it could go either way. Now, just to finish off the video here today, bit of news. So I am actually going to be traveling to Halifax next week. Most likely I'll be gone on the 11th of September, returning probably the 14th or 15th of September, so I won't have any videos up during that time. But I'm just taking a bit of vacation here to see some family, taking some sights in Halifax. I really want to visit the Museum of the Atlantic. Again, for anyone who's not familiar with naval history, during World War II, Halifax was a major port, especially before the Americans got into the war. It was all the supplies going to Britain came out of Halifax. And there's museums down there. There's floating museums in terms, the HMCS Sackville is down there. So I really want to take in some of those sites. I've been to most of them before, but usually most of them I was younger, right? I was there on school trips and stuff, and don't really remember them. So I want to go back and see that. So when I do get back from Halifax, I will probably have quite a few pictures to show you guys of the museum and of the trip. So thank you so much for taking the time watching the video today. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.